Squid Game Season 3 wasn't bad. I'll say it again. Squid Game Season 3 wasn't bad. Did it have its flaws? 100%. But was it horrible? Absolutely not. And I'm tired of people acting like it is. In this video, I'll provide my own opinions of Squid Game Season 3, while also responding to popular criticisms I've seen of it. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, this is actually one of the gripes I do have with Squid Game Season 3. In particular, I dislike how the situation between these two was never actually resolved. Jun-Ho will most likely never see his brother again. He never got an answer as to why In-Ho became the frontman. We never got that closure. Now, they did provide us with enough evidence for us to make an inference, but specifically, it just leaves a sour taste in my mouth that they basically have been setting up this entire series for them to meet. And once they finally do meet, the only thing that happens is...
왜 그랬어?
With that being said, I want to specifically respond to a popular criticism, which is that Jun-Ho is a useless character, or that the whole B-plot with him searching for the island shouldn't have been a thing and the series could have went on without it. I want to debunk that argument specifically. Now, obviously, you would know those claims aren't true, obviously, by just watching the show. If Gi-Hun and Jun-Ho never meet, then the games don't get taken down. People seem to forget that the entire reason the guards evacuated and destroyed the island is because Jun-Ho found the island and called the Coast Guard. And yet he may not have saved everyone, he still ended the games in Korea, which was Gi-Hun's goal. I agree with the sentiment that he might have too much screen time and definitely more of the runtime could have been spent on the characters in the game, but saying Jun-Ho as a character shouldn't exist is just dumb in my opinion. Without him, the games don't end. Everyone's main gripe with Player 333's character in Squid Game seems to be that he seemed like a good guy in Season 2. Then out of nowhere in Season 3 he becomes a killer and even threatens to kill his own child. I've seen people say this is inconsistent, bad writing, it makes no sense, and I'm here to tell you that all of those criticisms are just wrong. Player 333, the amazing Myung-Gi if you will, has always been a morally gray person. For the people who believe he was a good guy then all of a sudden became a bad guy, you simply fell for his trick. He's a lot like Song-woo in that regard. And no, Song-woo isn't a good person. You can stop wasting him and calling him the most smartest and most realistic character in the show, and oh, he made the decision nobody else can make. Just stop it, bro. As I was saying, Myung-Gi has always been a morally gray person. For starters, we have to look at the whole reason he's even in the games to begin with. He's a crypto scammer who went broke. Now, I don't know about you, but I think crypto scammers are some of the lowest, down bad people on this planet. We see that when he's confronted with his actions, he doesn't apologize or own up to it. Instead, he turns the blame back onto his supporters. Pure cowardice. I'm not using this to say that Myung-Gi was a bad person from the start, as I do think he had some redeeming qualities in Season 2. This is just some evidence that gives credence to him being a morally gray person. He scams his fans and then turns the blame back onto them. My second piece of evidence is how he treated Jun-Hee. I also want to note that there is a scene in S2 where Jun-Hee is calling Myung-Gi and he ignores it to, go play the games instead. This is important for later, but moving on. We have to analyze the scene in Season 2, Episode 4, where Myung-Gi figures out Jun-Hee is in the games. Our first clue is when Jun-Hee says that Myung-Gi has always been self-absorbed.
That tracks. If it's not about you, you don't care.
This gives credence to the idea that he will do anything in pursuit of money, even scam his followers and abandon his loved ones. We see in the same scene that Myung-Gi also told Jun-Hee to invest in his crypto scam.
You told me to buy that crypto.
Which means he's literally the reason she's there in the first place. his actions indirectly got his whole family killed. We also see that Myung-Gi and Jun-Hee seemingly agreed that she would get an abortion. Now, I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with getting an abortion, but it is more evidence of Myung-Gi casting aside his family in the pursuit of money. I think the scene where Myung-Gi holds his own child over a ledge is symbolic of this idea. Moving on to the final part of this interaction, Jun-Hee says that she wanted to leave, but couldn't because Myung-Gi voted blue. I know that he voted red after he realizes this, but it still gives credence to Myung-Gi being a morally great person who is willing to sacrifice human lives in pursuit of money, but only realizes that it's wrong when it happens to people who he cares about. I feel like a lot of the fanbase is similar to Myung-Gi in that regard, where they're okay with people dying in front of them as long as it isn't their family. I'm not judging, but you guys should try to be more like Gi-Hun. There are other moments throughout Season 2 where Myung-Gi displays traits of a morally great person, like when he gets Young Mi killed. There's also the part where he's talking to Jun-Hee about life outside of the games, and he seems more concerned about the money aspect of his life rather than taking care of his family. If it wasn't apparent by now, Myung-Gi was not this pure-hearted guy who did a complete 180 into the killer he was in Season 3. Rather, he was a morally great guy who just sunk deeper into that greed and selfishness. There are also some scenes I'd like to analyze in Season 3, so let's go to that. Now, the main claim about Season 3 is that Myung-Gi seemingly became a killer out of nowhere. In Season 2, he was morally gray, sure. Maybe he was okay with killing people, but he obviously still had some good qualities, you know? Then in Season 2, he just outright becomes a serial killer. I'm gonna tell you why I disagree with that sentiment. First of all, even in Season 2, Myung-Gi shows his disregard for human life when he votes to keep playing the games. It doesn't matter whether he killed them himself or not, people still died as a result of his actions. Moving on, the first scene I want to look at during Season 3 is his chat with Jun-Hee, where he switches roles with her. She asks him, is it easier for him to kill someone? He responds saying he would kill everyone if it meant protecting her and the baby, but he also includes the money in the things he would kill for. Jun-Hee responds the same, but she only includes her baby in things she would kill for. Notice how Jun-Hee refers to her child as my baby, while Myung-Gi refers to it as the baby. I believe this is basically a hint towards Myung-Gi's true motivation, as he prioritizes the money first and then the people he cares about. He probably thinks that all of his efforts are for nothing if he doesn't make as much money as possible. He fails to see that a human life is worth much more than any amount of money you could think of. I'm also noticing that he's kinda just telling Jun-Hee what she wants to hear, rather than what he actually believes. This is consistent with the character that was established in Season 2. He's still the guy who doesn't care about people dying as long as he gets the reward. This isn't a character assassination, it's just consistency. But let's look at where he transformed into being a killer. I would use a scene where he and Nam-Gyu killed those players, but that was required for them in the past, so it doesn't actually count. Let's look at where Myung-Gi actually crosses the line and starts killing more than he's required to. The first person he kills is one from the Shaman Ladies group. This kill represents him stepping over the edge. He promised Jun-Hee he would come find her as soon as he passed, but instead he finds himself killing again in pursuit of the reward. This is basically like a drug dealer relapsing after promising to never touch drugs again. Now notice the scene where he kills Hyunju. He stabs her in the back. This is about as obvious as it gets. Myung-Gi is a backstabber who constantly betrays Jun-Hee's trust and does bad things behind her back. Okay, maybe I'm reaching, but you get what I'm trying to say. This isn't a character assassination, this is just Myung-Gi showing you who he is internally. He's kind of like a Walter White or Shane Walsh kind of character. He'll do bad things because he enjoys it or he thinks it's necessary. The only times he realizes what he's doing is wrong is when it affects someone who he cares about. And the most important aspect of a character like this is that they will never change. Moving on, in the episode where Jun-Hee dies, notice how Myung-Gi lies to the bitter end. Instead of being straight up and remorseful for his actions, he lies to Jun-Hee's face and tries to paint his actions as if he was doing it for them.
How was I gonna know that? How could I know that she was helping you? Come on, I didn't know! Jun-Hee, I was just trying to find you. I wanted to keep you safe and our kid too. I wasn't being selfish, okay? I want to get us out and start a new life with you. A happier life for the both of us, that's why I did it.
Like I said earlier, he will never change. Later that same episode, he voted to keep playing the games. Not that voting X would have done anything, but it just shows that he can be himself now without Jun-Ho looking over his shoulder. To end this section off, I just want to reiterate that Myung-Gi's character arc is not that of a good person becoming a bad person. It is that of a morally gray person sinking deeper into the darkness, until his true colors finally shine. We see this in the final game where he continues to stay silent and watch as his baby is in danger. He votes O again, and when it comes down to it, prioritizes his own life over his child's. Also, something that I think is noteworthy, Myung-Gi might have actually gotten Yang-Shik killed, since he killed more hiders than he was supposed to, leaving Yang-Shik with none to find. With that being said, let's move on to the next section. The main criticisms of Gi-Hun's character arc seem to just be that he kind of flip-flopped mid-season. In Season 2, he was supposed to be this beacon of hope kind of character who is pure of heart and on a mission to save everyone from the games. Then in Season 3, he loses his hope in humanity and starts playing the games, then he kills Dae-Ho. Then after that, he just starts being his good person self again. I mean, like, which one is it, Gi-Hun? You can't be a good person and a killer. You can't have both. Yeah, I'm just kidding. This criticism is basically a non-issue from people who have no concept of what a character arc actually is. I don't get why people are pretending you have to maintain your character's personality throughout the show, especially when they go through something really traumatic. This criticism just seems to stem more from people mad that Dae-Ho was killed off early, rather than an actual problem with Gi-Hun's character arc. We'll talk about that later though. When people talk about this scene, they say it as if killing Dae-Ho was easy for Gi-Hun. Let's not forget that Gi-Hun looked as if he was going to spare Dae-Ho once he started begging for his life, and only tried killing him again after Dae-Ho attacked him, and then blamed him for the rebellion failing. Also, Gi-Hun literally tried to kill himself after realizing that the rebellion failing was his fault, and that he shouldn't have killed Dae-Ho. So he was clearly distraught and remorseful for his actions. Gi-Hun is still that nice guy internally. He was just in a temporary dark state of mind where he lost his faith in humanity. He became like the frontman. It took Miss Jang to make him have faith again, which is also something people leave out. Also, another small gripe I have is people who think it's bad writing that Gi-Hun didn't stab the rest of the players in their sleep. I thought it was pretty clear that this was Gi-Hun just showing that he's still a good person who has faith in humanity and chooses to play the game fairly. They show the contrast between Gi-Hun and the frontman by showing that the frontman actually decided to kill the players during this game, while Gi-Hun listens to his moral compass in the form of Sae-Byeok. This was Gi-Hun's answer to the frontman's question. He showed the frontman that he still has faith in humanity through his actions. That's why the frontman can't do anything but stare in awe during the final game, because he knows Gi-Hun won the war and proved to him that the world could change. But moving on. This criticism isn't really a huge criticism, but it's still a wrong one that I disagree with. This one just stems from the fact that people don't like Player 100 and think that your screen time could have been used as more relevant characters. I agree with the sentiment, but I don't think it should be taken seriously as an actual criticism of Squid Game. Guys, Player 100 is a major antagonist. The purpose of his character is to be the annoying guy who convinces everyone to keep voting O. That means he's going to be sticking around for a while. It's not a problem with the show if a character you don't like shows up often. If anything, it's just good world building. But moving on. This is a big one, so let's talk about it. Everyone seems to not like the way Dae-Ho was treated in Season 3. They're saying he's a wasted character and that he should have been an actual Marine, rather than being a coward who never saw actual combat. They also think the character was butchered in Season 3 or something, so let me address that. Now, if it wasn't painfully obvious back in Season 2, Dae-Ho is a faker. Our first clue is the fact that he is very skilled at Gonggi. This doesn't inherently make him a faker, but it does raise eyebrows, and he's bare minimum different from the rest. Jung-Bae even says, Our next piece of evidence is his little scuffle with the players who voted O. Now, I've never been in a military myself, being a teenager and all, but I'm pretty sure most Marines, especially those who've seen combat, usually don't go around flexing their accomplishments in an attempt to look tough. Someone who's actually a trained fighter wouldn't be getting into fights, they'd be trying their best to stay out of one. That's just what I've seen though. Now, obviously our third clue is Dae-Ho's performance during the rebellion. He's so scared he's shaking in his boots. He can't even aim his gun straight. There are people there who have never even touched a gun before that are putting up better performances than him. If it isn't clear that Dae-Ho is a faker by now, then I question your critical thinking skills. Season 3 is basically the season where everyone reveals their true colors. They all die the same way they lived. Myung-Gi died a selfish scumbag who prioritizes money over all else in his life. Jun-Ho died selflessly, sacrificing herself for the well-being of her child, just as she had to do outside of the games. Hyunju died protecting her friends. Gi-Hun sacrificed his life, choosing to preserve his humanity rather than giving in to the very ideology that created the games in the first place. Dae-Ho is no different. He died a bumbling coward. He did nothing but cry and beg for his life when confronted with his actions, and immediately tried to kill Gi-Hun and pin the failed rebellion on him. Now, I'm not saying it's anyone's fault in particular, but if I had to blame someone, it would 100% be Dae-Ho. It wasn't Gi-Hun's plan that got everyone else killed, it was Dae-Ho being a coward that got them all killed. If he would have brought the ammo back, they would have had a fighting chance. Because of him, they all ran out of bullets and were forced to surrender. Personally, I was cheering for Gi-Hun to kill Dae-Ho during my first watch, but that's just me though. Anyway, moving on, killed. To end off this video, I want to touch up on another small criticism that isn't very serious, but it just irks me. And it's the VIP's acting. Guys, you can stop complaining about the VIP's bad acting. We get it. Maybe in Season 1 it was a problem, but in Season 3 they're very obviously doing it on purpose. It's not something wrong with the show if they're doing it on purpose. That's literally the point. There's actually a video on YouTube where one of the VIP actors from Season 1 clarifies that they were acting exactly how they were instructed to act by the director, and that his lines fit the director's vision so well that none of his scenes were edited out by Netflix. They literally just acted out what was on the script, down to a T. I don't imagine it was any different for Season 3, since why would it be? So yeah, stop complaining about the VIP's bad acting, guys, we get it. So what'd you guys think of this video? This is my first attempt at a sort of character analysis, video essay kind of vid. This mainly stems from the dumb criticisms of the show that I've seen online, and how I'm kind of tired of how everyone wants to act like a critic now. It's like, bro, if you could do better, then you would be making TV shows and not whining about them online. But what do you think though? Do you disagree with something I said in this video? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, consider subscribing. As always, see you next video.